Hello and welcome to Leadership Table Talk, a show designed to help you develop and improve your executive leadership skills and talents. I'm your host, Dr. Mary Gillam, a retired Air Force colonel and former member of the Senior Executive Service Corps with the Department of Defense at the Pentagon. Did you know that in one of the richest countries in the world, there are women here in the United States who struggle to provide basic essentials for their babies? Having a heart for single moms and children, Mrs. Betty Dudley, a retired Air Force colonel, lieutenant colonel, and founder of the nonprofit Bees Babies Essentials, has chosen to address this ongoing problem. So please help me to welcome to the studio via Zoom my dear friend, Mrs. Betty Dudley. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So Betty, let's just begin by just telling the audience a little bit about your background.
Well, I'm married to retired Chief Master Sergeant George Dudley. We've been married 23 years this past July. I am the sixth of 8 children. I'm a native of Cordele, Georgia. I had a very modest upbringing. We didn't have much in terms of material things, but we did have parents who instilled in us the importance of family values, the love, good work ethics, faith in God, and just the importance of serving others, serving a cause that were greater than ourselves. I'm the first of the family to go to college, and then I went on to serve in the United States military. I served in the Air Force for a little shy of 21 years, serving in the areas of administration and personnel in the support functions, serving as executive assistant to commanders at the various locations. And then I was selected to command a squadron at Pope Air Force Base, North Carolina, Mission Support Squadron Commander there. And then my final assignment was here at the Pentagon just prior to 9/11. And I served at the Air Force Programs and the Division, Air Force Programs, Plans and Programs Division in terms of working the Air Force budget for the Air Force program as a whole. I then retired in 2003, and I became a federal government contractor, serving at the different agencies. And in 2009, I was laid off, and that gave me the opportunity to write a book entitled Call to Serve, Empowered by Faith, Humbled by Grace. And this was just a compilation of my military experience and just telling how I used my faith to navigate me through different decisions and my walk in the Air Force during my Air Force career. In 2014, I then became a contractor again, and I served at the Department of Energy, serving in the Office of Cybersecurity in the Training and Awareness Program until that contract ended in 2019. And then, as you know, that's when COVID hit. And in the fall of 2021, I retired.
Oh, Betty, that is such an amazing background and such a varied background, giving you a vast amount of experience in different areas. And so when it comes down to Bees Babies Essentials, I love the name. How did you come up with that name?
Well, my family calls me B, short for Betty. And in determining what services that the nonprofit would provide, which were providing the basic essential needs and supplies for the babies. So putting that together with my name, Bees Babies Essentials just seemed like the right fit for the right purpose in terms of what I wanted to accomplish with the nonprofit.
That is wonderful. So, Betty, let me ask you, what inspired or motivated you to want to start the nonprofit?
I've always had a heart for unwed mothers. And in trying to decide how best to fulfill that obligation, I saw the need for single mothers as well as fathers in terms of needing help with just providing for the essential items for their babies. So, in realizing that, I've come to realize that it was not just only single mothers who were in need of services, but there were single parents in general, whether due to the loss of a spouse, a disabled spouse, a divorced spouse, and fathers in general who were single parents as well. So I thought just single parents would be a better fit for what I was trying to accomplish. And really, when the shortage of baby formula occurred early in the year, this year, that really touched my heart. And it made me realize, I need to kind of full speed the process in terms of trying to do something to help these single parents, because I can only imagine, gosh, what it would be like just not being able to provide the basic essential needs for your baby, for your loved one. So that's what really motivated me to get started with Bees Babies Essentials.
Oh, that is so wonderful, Betty. And you're the perfect person to do that because I know that you have that kind of heart, having known you for several years. So, Betty, what is the vision, the goals, and the objectives for Bees Babies Essentials?
Well, we are partnering with faith-based and community organizations to serve people who are in need. And specifically for this nonprofit, we want to specialize in these single parents who were experiencing hardships with just providing for the basic essential items from infants up to age 3, toddlers age 3. And in building these relationships with the faith-based and community organization, we want to be able to provide awareness with life skills training and social services and counseling services to better help achieve our shared goals and responsibility for our core value, which is taking care of the least of these and trying to change the trajectory of the family, single parents and their families who want to have a better sustainable livelihood. And some of the goals that we are looking at are to increase exposure. And I thank you, Dr. Gillam, for giving me this opportunity just to share a little about Bees Baby Essentials on your platform. We want to also raise funds. We want to recruit volunteers, donors, and sponsors to help with the project. And we want to be able to build an online opportunity where the customers, the single parents, can come online to be able to indicate what services that they may be in need of. And we want to also provide some training they can receive as well through webinars to help with their process. And also, we want to look at trying to find the right agencies to better be partners with. And ultimately, we want to be able to obtain a facility to be able to house the stored items that we purchase and donated to us. We just want to make a difference in the least of these, our up and coming generation. The Bible speaks of taking care of the least of these. So we want to be able to just offer some services back to the community in the spirit of love, care, and mercy, just as God has shown toward us, and to restore the hope to these parents and families.
That is so awesome. Now, Betty, let me ask, I know that you've served on several nonprofit boards. How did those experiences help to shape you to be able to operate your own nonprofit today?
Well, having served on the board, it lets you know that everybody's talents, services, and supply is needed, because as an owner of the foundation or organization, you cannot, as the owner, do everything yourselves. So yourself, in other words, you need other people to help make your vision come to pass. So serving on other boards gave me this opportunity to look for people who had various backgrounds and experiences to be able to help bring this vision to pass.
So, Betty, continuing in that line of discussion, when you got ready to formulate your board, what were some of the skill sets that you were looking for in your board members?
First of all, I wanted to make sure that they were servant leaders. If they had a heart to serve other people, other causes greater than themselves. Then I looked for people who who had the experiences to be able to fill those positions that I needed filled on the board. So first of all, looking for the skill sets that may not be like my own skill set. I needed someone who had different skill sets than myself to be able to work in the different areas that we needed to be filled on the board. And it's amazing that once everyone had agreed to serve on this nonprofit, I had in my own mind pictured who may, from the skill sets that I know the person has, to fulfill those positions. Then when we formulated as the board and started nominating different people to fill those positions, without telling anyone what I had already compiled in my mind, the people that were nominated were the people that I had selected in my mind to fill those positions. So the process went quite smoothly.
That is so good and wonderful. And I know that this advice that you're providing will help anybody watching the show that when they get ready to start their own nonprofit, some of the steps that you have taken to get yours off the ground. And just to kind of talk about that a little bit more, can you just talk about how it makes you feel, that this has been a dream of yours for so many years and now it's coming to fruition? Can you just talk a little bit more about that?
Oh, I could only say, to God be the glory, because, I don't have children of my own, but I always have had a heart for children. And all of my nieces and my nephew, they just take to Auntie B, So to see this materialize in this aspect, God didn't tell us how he's going to, fulfill a need, in our lives, So my thinking might have been naturally for me to have a child or something, but he saw fit. He's the only one who's in our tomorrow who know what the end is going to be. So he saw through this means that I would be able to fulfill that same goal in terms of taking care of the least of these, I would always say.
Mm-hmm. So because you have stepped out like this, what role has faith played in your ability to be able to go out and see this come to pass?
Oh gosh, faith is everything to me. I live by faith. I operate by faith. It determines what I do, is who I am. And I consider myself as a faith servant leader, following the example of Christ as our example, as my example, who is and who was the greatest servant leader of us all. I believe we too are called to serve. And faith is just acting on what we believe. My mindset was telling me, you can't do this. You've never done this. How will it work? And all of these negative thoughts, just trying to keep you from being on the path that you believe that you are called to do. But in remembering that, I remember a quote from Martin Luther King, who says that not everyone can be famous, but everyone can be great, because greatness is determined by service. We can all be great because we can all serve. Now, I'm not trying to be famous. I'm not trying to be famous. I just want to be effective in terms of helping make a difference in the lives of these single parents.
You know, Betty, when I think about the book that you wrote, Call to Serve, and how that has really just come full circle again in your starting Bees, Babies, Essentials. Can you kind of just talk a little bit more about your book and the foundation that it has laid in terms of your continued service?
Oh, yes. As I mentioned, God is the only one who's in our tomorrow. And when I did call to serve, not knowing that this would lead into such a cause as this, but serving is, I think a lot of time people think service or serving, you have to have such a big platform. You have to be all in the limelight platform, but as I mentioned, serving is no more than just providing you assistance to help somebody, who's in need, a cause that is greater than you. So I talk about in the book how being called to serve in the book, you can serve no more than if it's like you see your neighbor who might need a ride to the grocery store, someone who's in the office who is down and might need a smile. You can serve in that aspect. And tying that with the need here with the nonprofit, we want to just make a difference in what God has called us to do. And I recall my mom saying, you should try to do something so great that you would have to rely on God in order to make it happen instead of your own understanding. And this is one of those things that I definitely have to lean on God and not my own understanding. But I know that even with the book, I had to lean on. I thought a lot of times that there were things that I could not perceive happening just from someone from small town of Portia, Georgia. But trusting God, who also orders your footsteps in everything that you do. If you trust Him, He will order your footsteps. And I would be the first to tell the board that I don't have all the answers to how this is going to happen, but I do know that He, Holy Spirit, will direct our footsteps every step of the way in this process.
Oh, Betty, that is just an amazing summation of the correlation between your having written the book and how it has led to now seeing the creation of your new nonprofit, and it's all about service. Because as long as I've ever known you, for the many, many years now, you've always been that servant leader at heart. And I often talk about passion in the several books that I've written, but I've often talked about the importance of being passionate about whatever it is that you're doing. How has your passion played a role in your being able to get Bees, Babies, Essentials off the ground?
Well, I believe passion drives what you are trying to do. It drives your determination, and it keeps you focused on the purpose for what you are doing. If you as the leader are passionate, then it infects the team. That same passionate spirit will rub off on your organization, because they will see the passionate in the leader. And if you don't have that passion, things could go south quickly. But if they see that the leader is passionate, that drives them to be more effectuous, and that drives the team as a whole to be excellent in everything that they do. Yes, you will make mistakes, but it's done in love. It's not intentionally, but people see the passion that you have, even the ones that you are serving. If they don't see that the leader and the organization as a whole is not passionate into what they are doing, then they tend to think, ulterior motives, but they are easy to see that transparency or passionate in the leader and as the team as a whole.
Betty, I love that, because I know sometimes in organizations where, like you said, if the leader is not passionate about what he or she is doing, then it can easily just deteriorate cause the organization to begin to flounder because, they want their leader to at least be passionate about what they're doing as the leader of the organization. So, Betty, let me ask you this. I know that you have developed your strategic plan. How is that coming in terms of where you want to take the organization?
Well, it's important to not only nonprofits, but organizations as a whole to have a strategic plan, because that is basically your roadmap to where you want to take the organization. Just helps to keep you focused and the team focused on the mission. It also can serve as a tool in terms of telling you if you're off course, to measure your progress, to show you where your weaknesses are, where your strengths are, and what other needs of the organization. If you bear off track a little bit, it kind of helps you to get back on course of the action, So I think it's really important that you have a strategic plan, because it kind of directs your steps in terms of how you want to take the organization and measure the progress that you are making or not making.
That is so wonderful, because I believe that even nonprofits need to have strategic plans. I know we often talk about those in the corporate world and in government and so forth, but I think, like you said, it's very important that a nonprofit has a strategic planning process as well that they do, so that they can review their progress from year to year. Because sometimes when people develop strategic plans, unfortunately, they'll develop it and then they'll put it on a shelf. And that's a living document, and they should always keep that alive and everything.
Yes.
So, Betty, have there been any challenges along the way?
I would say my greatest challenge was to, and the biggest challenge was my fear factor of the unknown. Your mind say, can you do this? Will it work? How will it be funded? Who's going to help you? What if it fails? What are you going to do? You're going to be the laughing stock, So, but, faith without work is dead. So it is important to just believe that if God has called you to do something, to take that first step and just do it. And the hardest part was the fear factor for me. And another challenge was in doing a lot of the research and all, there was a lot of information out there in terms of how other people have done, set up their organizations and everything. Just a lot of information that you had to decipher through. So what I did was I contacted a firm who had specialized in the setup of nonprofits to be able to help prevent some of the pitfalls that you might run into as a trial and error process, to eliminate some of those pitfalls from getting someone who's already been through the process and can help better steer you in terms of what you are trying to accomplish. And I guess the third thing would be picking the right people to serve on your board. You want to have someone who can bring value to the organization. This is just, saying, okay, she has started this organization. It's good to be on the board, the limelight, so to speak, and not do anything. But it's important to have people who can bring value to your organization.
Oh, that is so good. That is very good information to not only have, but to share with our audience today. So, Betty, we're getting ready to close out. Is there anything else that you would like to share about Bees Babies Essentials?
I would say we're in the beginning process of it. There's a lot to do, a lot to accomplish. I am confident that we can make sure that all things are lined up. And like I said, God is in the midst of it. What we want to do is to be able to have online training for the people, for the single parents, to solicit volunteers who are specialized and have licenses for the different areas that might be needed, or the services rather, that might be needed, say for example, like financial management, to get volunteers who are trained in those areas who can offer a webinar to help them with the financial management. We want to be able to offer parenting classes to parents, life skills, training to them to just better put them back on the path of, I would say, path of righteousness, but to just help them in terms of getting their foot back on the right path to help sustain their lives.
And that
we want
is
to
wonderful.
offer social services that referral services, rather, I should say, because there might be some areas where the nonprofit might not provide, but we want to be able to link the single parents to referral agencies who offer, classes on WIC, food stamps, or food banks that can better serve them as well.
And
that just emotional counseling and getting licensed counselors to volunteer to be able to assist in those areas.
And on that note, Betty, we're going to have to close it out. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to be with us today. And I want to thank you, our listening audience, for watching our show. I hope that you've been inspired by our guest today. Again, this is Dr. Mary Gillam. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye for today.